Hello everyone, welcome once again to the course on making natural tape for adhesive strips. Let's talk about the materials. I want you to pay close attention, because I'm going to talk about the glue, so let's get started. The hair, obviously, but remember that if you're just starting out, practicing, and want to practice with biohuman hair to do a test, you can go ahead because it works really well. I do this a lot, for testing. So if you don't want to use real hair right away, if you're not very skilled yet and are just starting to get into the hair extension market, it's ideal for you to use either some human hair you already have and don't need, or buy some biohuman synthetic hair that can withstand high temperatures, okay? I'm going to use these little rubber bands here, but that's optional if you want to buy them. I like it because I prefer to separate all the hair first into small strands, clean the hair, and I don't like holding too much hair at once when I'm making the extensions because it ends up getting misaligned. You'll understand why in the next lesson. We've already talked about the rubber bands. Now let's talk about the non-stick paper. This non-stick paper is also optional. If you have a press, you should know how to use it. The press. With my press, I don't need to use this non-stick paper because it already comes with this protection here. But if you just bought your press and need to use the paper, it'll be on the materials list. But like I said, that depends on each press, right? Those t-shirt presses usually use a non-stick paper. In this case with mine, it doesn't need it. This tape here is also optional, but I really like to use it because when I'm cleaning up my workspace, it's very easy and also for making markings. In the next lesson, you'll understand why I like this gray tape. It's also on the materials list. The other tape, which we're really going to need a lot, is masking tape, okay? I'm going to use this masking tape all the time, and I'm also going to use something here that I really like. Since I use the 8mm double-sided mega hair tape, I buy this 8mm double-sided tape, but it's not for mega hair. It's actually very easy to use. It's meant for sticking paper, so it doesn't have good adhesion. Do not use this for mega hair, for the love of God. I like to use it because I like to make markings when I'm cutting. You'll understand everything later on, but I want to explain something to you. If you're going to use the 1cm adhesive tape, this double-sided tape, it's really cheap. You use the 1cm double-sided tape. Why? I put this tape on just to get the marking right, cut it, and then remove it, throw it away so I can put on the correct tape, which would be this one here. So in this video, I'm going to use the 8mm one, because the tape I use is 8mm. Did you get that? Talcum powder, any talc, okay? This baby powder. I usually use this talc here to remove oiliness from the hair. When you take hair to make something, hair that has already been used, usually people don't wash the hair at the time of removal. And also the chemical products that were used to remove it, like keratin, you use a keratin remover. Sometimes people use a lot of oil or some cream with oil, so the hair usually comes dirty with a lot of oiliness. So before making the piece, I like to use talcum powder to remove that oiliness from the base before starting the process. Later on, you'll understand everything clearly. Now let's talk about the glues. I really like to use liquid PU glue, because liquid glues make the base much thinner and more flexible. Let me give you a tip. This glue here, right, is a PU glue. It comes with a hardener, and I noticed that every time you add the hardener, the mesh comes out a bit stiffer, it doesn't stay as flexible. So I reduced the amount of hardener, because the supplier of this glue actually recommends that for every 50 of glue, you use 2. For every 50, you mix it, put it in a container, and use it. However, you basically only have 24 hours to use what you made, right? In this case, after you've mixed it with the hardener. After a day or two, it will harden. I did several tests, and now I actually do it without the hardener, and the mesh turns out much better. I don't use hardener in any of my mesh. The hardener is meant to speed up the curing of the glue and also to make it harder, so that's why the mesh ends up coming out stiffer. Back in the day, we didn't really have access to a press, so we needed a glue that would harden faster, because we put a weight on it and the next day, when the mesh was dry, we could finish it up. Nowadays, everything's easier. There's the press, there's the hardener to speed things up. But since we use the press now, we don't need the hardener anymore. If you want to use the hardener, feel free to give it a try, then try it without the hardener, and afterwards let me know what you think. This glue here is way cheaper compared to this other glue. This glue here is a cobbler's glue, a PU glue, made specifically to handle rubber bonding, so it's elastic and it doesn't make your mesh stiff. And another thing, it can withstand very high temperatures. And I like to use it because my mesh doesn't unravel. But here's a tip too. Do a test. If you want, buy a smaller amount of this glue in case you've never used it before, and then try this one, and afterwards you can draw your own conclusion. In my opinion, I really like using this one, not only because the price is much lower, but also because my mesh becomes more resistant and lasts longer. And they also sell the catalyst separately, in case you want to use it. In this case here, if you want to use the catalyst to speed up your process and also keep it from getting hard, you use it for every 50 ml. I marked it here because it disappeared here, but it's 50 ml. I use one. I caught it like this, about 6 or 7 drops to make up 1 ml. Then I mix it, right, with a popsicle stick. And then I put it inside this container. Just remember that after you add the catalyst, its shelf life is very short, about 24 hours. Always use only the amount you're going to need. Since I use it without the catalyst, it takes longer to set, and the glue lasts longer, so that's why I don't use the catalyst. But I want to emphasize that you should do a test, okay? Do a test. I'm going to go through this whole process here. I'm going to make 3 screens, right? Which actually means 6 screens, because an adhesive tape screen is like a hot dog. You know, like a hamburger, you need 2 screens. So each pair, right, I'm going to make 3 pairs. And we'll need a measuring tape to know the size of the screen we're going to make. I'm going to make a set of 30, 26, and 14, okay? I'm going to make 3 pairs of screens, one of 30, one of 26, and one of 14, because they're custom sized. You'll need a plastic spatula. It's really easy to find, but I've left the link here. If you don't want to buy through the link, you can, of course, just look for any of these materials wherever it's cheaper and buy it, okay? Here, you can find it at a supply store, a pair of scissors and a comb. That's the basics. So this right here, folks, is the basics. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Just a reminder, the link below has the PDF of the list, the whole list in PDF, and the link where you can buy it. And there's also a list of our hair suppliers, the ones we buy from directly, and thank God, up to now, we haven't had any problems. I'll see you in the next video, where I'm going to show you how I do the cleaning, alright? Because this hair is still in really good condition, okay? I'm just going to clean about 10 centimeters and separate it, like I mentioned before, with the rubber bands. And in the next step, we're going to get right into the natural tape weft.